Hi and welcome to Sketching the World with me, Kat. Today I'm taking on a big task, which is swatching all my watercolors. It's not even just all my watercolors, but it's all mine and all my sisters. We've got a lot that we share. The reason for doing this, well, there's two reasons. First of all, I want to do more watercolor painting, so I thought it's really good to get refamiliarized with my materials. And the second reason is that I've got this little watercolor palette that I put together quite a while ago, and I don't have the swatch card for it, and I'm not really sure now what a lot of these paints are. So I'm going to swatch everything, and then I'm going to do a forensic exercise where I go back, I'll swatch these as well, and try and match the swatches up so I can see what colours these are. And maybe after doing that, I'll maybe rethink what I've actually got in this palette and try and get it to be more workable. I think there are a few colours in here that are very similar, and so not really much point having both colours in the same palette. So let's get started. I'll swatch that last because I want to do it on a separate card. So first of all, I've got Daniel Smith watercolours. Got quite a lot of these. Actually, I might just leave them in this net out one at a time. Hopefully I'll be able to get all the lids off the tubes without too much effort, but that can't be guaranteed. I'm using my Silverline, Jackson's Art Silverline brush number 12 because it's a nice flat brush, and my Strathmore watercolor pad. So let's start off with this purple. You know, I feel like there are two kinds of people who use watercolors. The kind of people who are just really into knowing all about the paint. They know the pigment numbers, they know the names. And then there are people like me who are like, yeah, it's a purple. And that's it. I'm, not really into the technical side of things. Half the time I don't even know the name of the colours. Like, oh yeah, that colour, it's my next door neighbour's kitchen colour when I was like in high school or something like that. Not, Carbazole violet. Carbazole violet. Okay, next up, manganese blue. This is one that's hard to open. Oh, really hard to open. Oh, it seems to have separated. I don't have a toothpick or anything to fix that either, so hopefully I can get enough. I might leave that one and come back to it because the binder has separated from the pigment, and I might need to get a toothpick in to fix it. New Gamboge. Then Queen Burnt Orange. It's not a colour I ever use, but then sometimes it's good to have colours that you think you never use in your palette, because if you just go for all your favourite colours, this is what's been my problem. I just pick the colours that I really love, but then I get very similar colours in my palette, and then when I'm trying to paint, I don't actually have the colours I need. Oh, that's very, very brown. I guess burnt orange is a very brown orange. That actually is the colour of my friend's mother's kitchen when I was in university. She loved her burnt orange kitchen. It wasn't because I'm really old, it was because she had a very outdated colour scheme in her kitchen. I actually decided to do this in this book because it was a lot bigger than the other watercolour sketchbooks I've got, but I find that when I do that I just make my swatches bigger. But yeah, I wanted to have them all on one page so that I could see all the colours spread out. And instead, yeah, just making really big swatches. So this is yellow ochre. I'll try and make them a bit smaller on this line. I've got so many of these to swatch. Daniel Smith watercolours do tend to be quite full and squirty when you first open them, which I guess is good value for money, but not if all the colour squirting out and you're losing it. I'm not doing these in any particular order. This is one of my favourites, Moon Glow. Thought that would separate a lot more. I think maybe on this paper it doesn't separate as much. Permanent Alizarin Crimson. Such a great colour. I find it really hard to get a good red in watercolour. I don't know why. Some of the reds, they just make me think of blood stains, and it's really unpleasant and makes me not want to use them. But that's nice and glowy. Raw umber, getting a bit dried out on top. What's that? Raw umber. Raw umber. I think I have this one in my small palette, but I'm not sure. I always get mixed up between the neutral tint and the Payne's Grey. Very similar. Quite nice, the neutral tint. Okay, Payne's Grey. I might do this one directly under the neutral tint so I can see the difference between the two of them. That'll be a fun experiment. Did I spell neutral right? N-E-U, yes. They are very similar. Payne's Grey is just a bit more on the blue side than the neutral tint. Neutral tint is more neutral. It's hard to get that cap back on now. Got it. And the sea green. Yeah, because I bought a lot of these with my sister. Some of the colours are not colours that I would buy myself, but colours that she really loves, which is good. It's good to sort of not just be stuck in the same old ways. Have something other than just an indigo. But yeah, like the undersea green, I would never pick that for myself, but it is quite lovely. Would be great for doing old houses. That's what it makes me think of. Old houses or old buildings. This one, cobalt teal blue. It's one of those colours I love, but I can never get it. Like, it always is not pigmented enough for me. And so I really struggle with it. I think that has still got some of the undersea green on the brush, so we'll just get rid of that. Yeah, maybe using it straight from the tube would be a lot better than doing it from a half pan or a smaller pan, because it just seems to take forever to wet and get into a workable condition. But it is such a beautiful colour. Probably one of my favourite colours. Cobalt. I always call it cobalt and then I go to write cobalt, but I am absolutely wrong. It's cobalt, pure blue. Okay, I'm gonna try that manganese blue again. I found the safety pin so I can stir it. It's about as good as I'm going to get that. Manganese blue hue. Not that impressed with it. Okay, this colour, Sleeping Beauty. I love the cobalt pure blue, but this one, it's gorgeous and I wanted it for so long. I don't actually use it that much, but I just really wanted it so much. And it was such an expensive colour. It's super expensive. But I had some Amazon affiliate credit and so I decided to splurge out and buy it. It's got a bit hard. Got a bit hard on top, but that should be okay. Good thing about watercolour is you can always reactivate them. So much more moody than the cobalt pure blue. It's still got that really nice turquoisiness to it. Buff Titanium. Buff Titanium, it's not a colour I use much. I find it very, because it's quite opaque, it can make your colours look a bit muddy. Well, that's how I've got to get that brush cleaner. Terrible at cleaning my brushes. It's a really bad habit. I have some terrible habits, especially when it comes to watercolours. Or maybe it's not so much. It's just that with watercolours you need to be a bit more precise, a bit more careful. But yeah, not really a big fan of the Buff Titanium. Now this, oh, that is a different purple. Imperial Purple. Not much difference between this and the Carbazole Purple Violet. That is a lot more bluish than this. I'm not sure why I've got both. So there is a logical explanation, which is one of them came in a set. I actually want to do a video with using purples because I feel it's a colour that a lot of people are scared to use. A lot of people don't like purple. Every time I watch someone doing swatching or, you know, doing their colours, they're always, oh, I really don't use purple. I really don't like it. But like me, I don't know, purple, it just says 90s goth. And, you know, some of us really haven't got over being a 90s goth. I wasn't a goth in the 90s, but I did like goth stuff. I just never went full goth. Wasn't cool enough to be fully goth. But used to go, there was a shop near where we lived that was the purple shop, and everything that was in the shop was purple. And I remember I went there and got purple shoelaces for my Doc Martens. That is the extent of my 90s gothness. That undersea green really separates. There's a real gold tinge coming out in it. And I'm sure that we have a lot more Daniel Smith watercolours than this. But we've got a lot in pans, yeah. And when we first started buying them, we did buy half pans. We bought a lot of these like watercolour sticks, which I ended up not liking. They're a bit hard to activate, but I'll just put a bit of this Moon Glow stick next to the Moon Glow. If you dip them in water, they're quite okay to use, but that's the only one I can find. So now I might do others. I'm going to keep the Schmincke separate because I've got a lot of them, so that they have their own page. But I've got a few just random brands that I've bought that squashed, so I won't swatch that. And oh, that's another Daniel Smith there that was in the wrong spot, so I'll just do that, and then I'll go down to the bottom and do the other brands. This is Perlin Green, which again I think is very similar to the Undersea Green. I wouldn't put both in my palette if I was just making a small palette, but now I'm looking at it and it's nothing like the Undersea Green. But yeah, it's much, much darker green. Still wouldn't have both in the same palette though, because they're both sort of not basic greens. They're more your specialty greens. Yeah, down here I'll do other brands. Now in the other brands I've got a couple of Art Spectrum colours. Art Spectrum are an art material company that's based here in Australia. You would think being based in Australia you'd get them cheaper, but it doesn't seem to be the case, so I don't really buy a lot of their stuff. This sepia is very dark. I quite like the darkness. Since I don't have a really dark brown in the Daniel Smiths, this is really good. And if it's not in my palette already, I might have to add that. So that was sepia. Then I also have the Burnt Umber in Art Spectrum. I don't usually use browns a lot. Not a browns person, and I think that's because my primary school uniform was brown and yellow. It was a disgusting uniform, and it's put me off browns for life. This is Permanent Sap Green. This is Jackson's Art, one of their house brand watercolours. They're really good watercolours for the price. If you're starting off doing watercolour and don't want to commit to spending a lot of money, and you know, you shop at Jackson's, I think these would be good to start with. They are quite good quality and are very reasonably priced, and I really like that packaging. Just checking, it doesn't say anything about the light fastness, but it probably does on their website. like I'm getting better at swatching as I go along here. Now I feel a bit bad for those ones up the top that are not as well swatched. Is it just me, or do other people have a real problem nowadays handwriting stuff? I just so rarely handwrite that when I have to do write something by hand, my handwriting's all over the place. I mean, I never had great handwriting to start with. It took me a long time to get my pen license at school. Had a lot of problems. I changed schools, I changed states when I was in school. Moved into state, and I went from doing one writing system to another. And the school I went to, the second state, did full, like, old style cursive. Yeah, and it was really hard to do that. I kind of feel like, I don't know, I don't want to like up talk myself or anything here, but because I went to move to a school in the country where a lot of the students weren't very academically gifted, and I was well in advance of everyone else in my class. I kind of feel like the teachers liked to hold me back for handwriting because it was something that they could sort of, you know, show that I wasn't top in everything, which they really didn't need to do, because I think I proved I wasn't top in everything by my sports performance. No, that was an area I didn't excel in. But yeah, I mean, from the time I arrived at the school started, I was in grade 3 when I was 10 years old, and I was already, like, it wasn't so much I was more intelligent than anyone else, but just that what I'd learnt from my first school was way ahead of what the second school was teaching. Spent most of my school years just getting thrown out of class on purpose so that I could sit outside and read my book. So that was the Jackson's Indigo. Now I've finished telling stories of my school days, which I really love. I love the Jackson's Indigo. It's a great colour and really good bang for the buck. And then the White Knight's Mint, which is going into more almost it's an opaque, you're getting almost into a gouache with that. But yeah, that really pops. So that's all the other brands. Okay, so these are all my Daniel Smith watercolours. I thought I had more than this, but apparently when we first started watercolour painting, we bought like a couple of basic sets and we put those into half pans, and they're all used up now. So that's why it's sort of a very random mix of colours. There's a few I really love in this. I love the Lunar Black. I love the Sleeping Beauty. And I quite like that red, the Permanent Alizarin Crimson. So yeah, they might be making it into my palette if they're not in there already. And then with these other brands, the Jackson's Indigo. And I really like this Art Spectrum Sepia, which I wasn't expecting. But before I start with these, I just realised I've got this tiny little, just the one, Winsor and Newton. Never buy Winsor and Newton paints, and I have no reason for not buying them. I just don't. I guess you can't buy everything from every brand, or you just have so many paints and no money. But this was one that was in the sales basket on the counter at my art supply store, my local art supply store, so I picked it up, and it is pretty amazing colour. I really love this. It's one of my favourite watercolour colours. That is Phthalo Turquoise. It's not really a turquoise. I wouldn't call it a turquoise. It's more of a blue. So now let's move on to the next lot of swatching. I might try and do these smaller because I've got so many paints to swatch in the Schmincke. If I was being logical, I would do little squares to put the colours in, but I never stick within the squares. So now I'm swatching my Schmincke colours, which I always spell wrong. I have this box of Schmincke's, this really gorgeous box that I got for my birthday a couple of years ago for my family, because my family are awesome. Woohoo! It came with this gorgeous porcelain palette that sits on top, which I never washed because it's watercolor, it reactivates, and why waste paint? So let's get started. I have to confess, I started filming this and then I didn't record properly. There was a technical error, so I already have some of my paint sitting around. What I'm going to do is swatch all the colours in this box and then go through the ones that are not part of the box set, but some of these were duplicates, so I want to get these done first, and I'll just do these ones that aren't part of the box set. That seems the way to go. And we'll start off with lemon yellow. Lemon yellow is such a pretty colour. Sunshine. Such a sunshiny colour. This, no matter how much water you add to it, doesn't seem to change colour that much. It's just a little blob of yellow. Just want to use up what's on my brush there, so I'll just... And it really doesn't lift, it's quite a staining colour. So even if I wash my brush and try and pick up some of that colour, it only alters the colour a little bit. So next up is cadmium yellow light, which I think is very similar to the lemon yellow, but it's a lot less staining. This is a little bit darker, if you can call it darker when it's such a bright yellow. And next we've got chromium yellow hue deep, which I would actually call Naples yellow, but I think there is a Naples yellow in this coming up, haha. So I'll be able to see the difference between the two. Yeah, I was wrong. It's nothing like Naples yellow. Looks like Naples yellow on the packaging, but this is so much brighter than a Naples yellow. So much brighter. Wow, love that. When I got these paints, there was a nice little swatch card with it that I filled out. And then, because we have plastic on the table to protect the table, I put it under the plastic. That's what, just transparent plastic, on those transparent plastic tablecloth things. And then we moved the table, and I think it's still under the plastic somewhere, but I think it could be under the pot plants or somewhere strange. I'm just gonna do all these, and then once I've got the row done, I'll write the names on, because that way I'm not stopping and starting. Now we're getting into the oranges, and this is chromium orange hue. So orange. kind of nice to do this extra swatching, like the swatch card was quite small, whereas with these I can do any size I like. So now onto the Perylene Maroon. My brush isn't completely clean. I have trouble keeping my brush clean. I'm not good with it. I really should be more careful about that, especially with watercolours. I feel like with watercolour you have to be a bit more pedantic than with a lot of other art materials. I guess you don't have to be, but you know, to get the full effects of the watercolour. I mean, probably if you're using something like oil paint, then you'd have to be super careful. I don't think I'd ever be. I used to do oil painting when I was young. I had oil paints, but yeah, I hate the smell and I hate dealing with them. They're not a media for me. Such a nice red, powdery, pinky red. Kind of makes me think of the kind of blusher that you would wear when you're young, thinking it's really grown up and sophisticated. And then you realise that it's actually not. Come on. So onto row 2, we have cadmium red light, not like red light as in traffic light, but that's quite a orangey red. It's nice, nice orange red. I really like that this collection's got a lot of reds in it. Sometimes they really stiff you on the reds and only give you one, and then they'll give you about 18 browns, which I don't use much. So it's good to have a set with lots of reds in it. And now this is magenta, so we're getting into the purpley reds. I only recently realised that magenta is actually meant to be a mix of red and blue. I always thought it was just a slightly purple, slightly pinky purple red. But no, technically it is a mix of red and blue. Okay, now we're on to the actual purple. There's only one purple in this set. Well, there's the magenta, but then there's the manganese violet, which is the only real purple. Guess how many purples do you need? That's very similar to those Daniel Smith purples I swatched earlier. It's not a very pigmented purple. I'm not sure if that's because I've just put that on lighter than some of the other colours or whether. Yeah, it just seems not very pigmented. Which is okay. Doesn't need to be, I guess. Not every colour needs to be boom, but interesting to know. We're on to ultramarine. Good old classic ultramarine, which I never use. always feel I should, like it's such a classic colour, sort of one of the basic colours. It's probably a really good mixing colour because of that, but I don't know. I always go for the turquoise and blues, not the blue blues. Yeah, that is blue. Super blue. So the next one is Prussian blue, again another basic blue. Another one I don't use that much. Oh, this is nice though. Almost indigo. My favourite of blues, well, one of my favourites, indigo. I mean, I love turquoise, I love indigo. So I have two favourite blues. Just want to see how dark this is. Yeah, that's nice and dark. So, got a few more blues to go on this row. Cerulean. That is super intense. Then Helio Turquoise. Well, you know I'm gonna like this one. It's got everything I like. Haven't used these for a while. It's sort of one of those things where I have to think to get the whole set out to use. And then, yeah, that kind of makes it hard. It makes it, well, it's not hard, it's just that you have to stop and think about what you're doing, which is not something I do often. You should just grab whatever's easiest, but it's good to remember to use all your art supplies. Otherwise I feel left out. And definitely want to start doing some more watercolour. I feel like one of my biggest issues with watercolour is that I can be very heavy-handed, and then things get a bit murky and muddy, so I have to, yeah, just make a conscious effort to go a bit lighter. I mean, with watercolours you can always add another layer, you can always go for round 2 or round 3. So yeah, just trying to keep things with a pretty light touch the first go round. So next we have phthalo green. I really hate these emeraldy greens. I don't know, it might be good for a mixing colour, for doing green stuff, plants and that, but it's not something I'd ever use. I mean, if I'm wanting to get greens, a variation of greens, I would be more likely to just mix my own. This is much more my kind of green. It is. I think it's spring green, but it doesn't actually say that. I can't read it. The paint, I've got so much paint on the outside of this tube that I can't read the name of the colour. Exploded like crazy when I went to open it, which is sad because I feel like you're wasting paint. Wasting paint. and it is May green. And I'm back with more swatching. It's 2 days later. I got this far in my swatching and my camera battery went flat, so I had to go and recharge it, and then by the time I had done that, the light wasn't very good, so yeah, I had to take a break. But it's good to see these are the Schmincke colours, all dried now. I really love these. They're all very jewel-like, glowing. Still even dried, I can't really tell much difference between these two yellows. So the last colour I did was May green. Next one in the set is Cobalt Green Dark. I've got a pair of pliers here. The Schmincke colours, especially these really small tubes, I find incredibly hard to open. So I've actually got a pair of pliers out to help me get the lids off these tubes. So yeah, that's a very dark green, typical dark green. Again, this is not a colour I like. I mentioned when I was doing the Daniel Smith ones about how I hate this shade of green. How I hate it because it reminds me of my high school uniform. Now we're getting onto the neutrals. Oh, we've got one more green, which is permanent green olive. Not sure why it's green olive. It doesn't look very olivey to me, but quite a nice green. So yeah, these are the 3 greens in the set. Very non-offensive. Oh, actually 4, because that one's a green. Naples yellow. I really don't think this is going to be much different to the Daniel Smith Naples yellow, but we'll swatch it, of course. Then next is yellow ochre. These are very oozy little tubes. Like, I'm not sure if you can see that, but that's how much the paint's oozing out of this one, which is kind of bad because then it means that it makes it even harder to open the tubes, and yeah, it just gets to be annoying. Like the paint dries around the ridges on the tube, and then it's very hard to get the lid off. So that was yellow ochre. Now burnt sienna. Then we'll go on to English Venetian red. Very similar, these two colours. Very similar. This one's a bit paler, a bit chalkier, but if you're buying the paints as open stock and not in a set, I don't think you'd ever bother buying both those colours. Same with these two. Maybe even these two are quite similar. I quite like the Schmincke, like the Schmincke. I know they've got their super granulating colours out now, but they've always been kind of paints that aren't very granulating, aren't very separating, just good solid colours. This is ivory black. I know some people really hate using black when they're doing watercolour, but I'm sure there are situations where you do need to use it. And then sepia brown, which I think should have actually gone before the ivory black, but not to worry. Sepia. Oh, that's nice. Just want to get a bit more of it being quite solid. I like that. And that's the entire set, all of this set. So I'll just label those before I forget to do it. So yeah, they're all the colours from my set, and as I said, the Schmincke were always not very separating, not very granulating, sort of more the colours that you would use if you wanted a good solid watercolour set. Now they're of course doing their super granulating colours, so it's changed up a bit, but I would still recommend these colours if you're looking for a good basic set and didn't mind spending a bit of money. So now I have some that aren't in the set, but some of them are duplicates, like the Naples yellow, and Helio green actually isn't in the set, so use that. I really think that if I'm going to keep using pliers for opening the lids of my paint, maybe I need to go and buy a really nice aesthetic set of pliers, some aesthetic painting pliers. That'd be really cool. I noticed when I was doing errands yesterday, there's near us a shop that sells vintage tools. I didn't get a chance to go in and have a look, but I thought that'd be a great place to go and sketch, wouldn't it? All the vintage tools. The larger tubes of the Schmincke are a lot easier to open than the smaller ones, I have to admit. Helio green. Getting some lines across my page from the sun. Having a lot of trouble with light at the moment because it's winter and I only get decent light for a couple of hours. And when I was filming last time, I noticed we've got two blinds at this window. One's like a complete block out blind and one's just like light to keep the sun out but still let the light in. But if I put that down, the quality of what I'm filming drops down a bit, so I think I'll just put up with having these lines across the page. Yeah, I'll be so happy when winter's over and I actually get light for more than 2 hours. That's one of the reasons I haven't been doing live streams lately, because yeah, it's such a limited time when I can do them, and then, you know, don't know in advance whether it's going to be an overcast day or there's going to be, yeah, it's just going to be a bit terrible for filming. And it means, yeah, I can only do them because, you know, live stream, you want to do it when people are online, but it's probably only between 10 a.m. to 12 lunchtime. Here in Australia, that the light's actually good enough to be worth filming. So yeah, once the weather starts picking up, once we get into spring, definitely want to come back with some live streams. I really have fun doing them. Yeah, the other thing with the live streams is I want to start getting some live streaming software happening, so I want to test all that out, which I should be doing in the next month or so. Just looking, the sepia and the Van Dyke brown. I thought they were going to be very similar when I started using them, but this is a lot warmer brown. This is quite a cool brown. Now this colour is olive green yellow, much more of an olive than, which was the one that called itself olive, the permanent green olive. Ooh. Very nice. Like this olive. Now the Payne's Grey. You can tell which of these my sister bought because she loves Payne's Grey. The Schmincke Payne's Grey seems to be a lot more grey and less blue than the Daniel Smith one. I'll see what it's like when it dries, but the Payne's Grey and the Ivory Black don't seem to be a lot. There doesn't seem to be a lot of difference. I think one of the reasons why this is less blue is because next up we have the Payne's Grey Bluish. So yeah, regular Payne's Grey Bluish. This is a great colour. Taking it down quite a bit because I want to see how the colour goes when it's got more water added to it. I should do that with the Payne's Grey as well. Payne's Grey Bluish, it's an amazing colour. Then we've got Ocean Grey, which is, I feel it's going to be quite similar to the Payne's Grey Bluish. This is a limited edition colour. It's one of those colours that I saw and just really wanted. And when I was in the UK last year, I was looking for it everywhere. I think we ended up buying it online though, because they didn't have it in the Jackson stores or any of the art stores I went to. It's getting a bit lighter, a bit less grey. Just going to add some more in there. It doesn't seem to have a lot of pigment. Now I'm going to have to wait forever for these to dry. I definitely think I will add that to my palette if I don't have it in there already, because it's a gorgeous colour. It is the best. I think I might even like that better than the indigo in the Schmincke's. So next up, wait for these to dry for a bit, but I found these. I'd forgotten I had them, and then I had to go for a search through the house. These are the Sennelier watercolors. I bought this set, I think it was on special on Amazon, and so I thought it'd be a good basic set to have. And Sennelier, their art materials are always quite beautiful. Never go wrong buying Sennelier, I don't think. Yeah, just the 5 colours in this little set. I kind of think this could be, I wouldn't normally take watercolour tubes out with me when I'm sketching, but this could be a good little set to do that with. Just thinking if I could add some more. I do like this tint. So I'll let those dry for a little while, and then I'll come back and I'll swatch the Senneliers. Okay, now to swatch the Sennelier watercolours. Sennelier. I'm really hoping the shadows on my paper aren't too strong. It's quite bright sunlight today. And, yep. Just struggling here because if I put my water bucket close to where I'm painting, then I get the shadow of that across the page. So I'm going to have my arm going across the page when I use it. So hopefully that won't look too bad. So first up in the Sennelier is Lemon Yellow. And again, very similar to the other 2 lemon yellows that I have. The Sennelier colours really seem to shine. They have a real glow to them. Well, that about them. I don't use this set much because, well, I guess I forget that I have it, and because I only have the 5 colours. But I really should. I really should, because they are so beautiful. I have no idea how much these cost. I do know that we got them special price. I do love this little metal tin that they come in. And yeah, just use them occasionally. This one is, oh, I should be saying that was Chinese orange. This one here, it's a great orange. It's kind of strange, I feel, that they included an orange. Like if you're going to include a secondary colour, orange is a strange choice, I think. I would have gone for a green, or maybe even a second blue. Rather than an orange. But yeah, it is a nice orange. So yeah, that was bright red, and now we're on to ultramarine blue. And lastly, Payne's Grey. Should have done the Payne's Grey and the 3 brands all on the one page, so I could have done a comparison of the Payne's Greys between the 3, but I kind of like having all the colours from the one brand together too. So that's quite a dark, almost black Payne's Grey. Interesting. It's not very bluish, not very blue at all. Definitely more similar to the Schmincke Payne's Grey than the Daniel Smith. I feel like this would be a great set if you're getting started in watercolours and you want the basic set. You didn't want to go out and buy a lot of colours, but you wanted something that was a high quality brand. This Sennelier set would be a really good one to buy. They're 10mm tubes, so that lasts for a long time, and it's getting a great range of just very basic colours there, but really nice colours. I kind of want to try mixing them, but I'll refrain from that at the moment. So yeah, I should write the names on those. And that was the Sennelier. I'm not sure what this set's called, but it's just like a basic Sennelier set. So I'll put those away and come back to those when they've dried so we can have a closer look at them. But now I'm going to swatch my unidentified, what colour is this little paint set. So that's all the colours in my little palette. And now I'm thinking the ones I want to swap out. This row, because they're all just really basic good mixing colours, I will keep as is. That brown I might switch out for a darker brown. I had some better browns than that when I was swatching. This one I love, this one I love. The ones I would consider getting rid of are this one and these two are very similar. Get rid of this one and maybe put a pan of a better orange in there, or maybe not. Like, I can mix an orange pretty easily. And I do like this green. I think that's phthalo green. Maybe this one. So yeah, I might now write in, this is the Winsor & Newton turquoise. This is Mystery Magenta. And this is buff titanium. Cobalt blue. So those are the ones that I can identify straight off. And I'll get my swatches and see about the others. Okay, now I'm going to try and work out what the rest of these colours are. I'm pretty sure this one here is this. And I'm pretty sure that's the Daniel Smith Lemon Yellow. But this one I don't have on there. And this one I don't have on there. But I might swap one of those for the permanent alizarin crimson. And this is another one I don't have. This I was thinking I could just go back to this and work out the colours really easily, but because I no longer have the tubes of these, it's not happening. I might have to actually go to their website and see if I can figure it out from there. But this one here is the Jackson's Indigo. Indigo. And that one is that raw umber. Yeah, I'm thinking of swapping that out with the, maybe that sepia. The Art Spectrum sepia. Then yeah, that's this. And that was the Mystery Magenta. This one here is Undersea Green, which I like, but I'm not sure if it's necessary in such a small palette. Lunar Black, that pink, that's gone. So I'm not even going to bother trying to find out what that is. This I am pretty sure is the Payne's Grey Bluish in Schmincke. And I do love that. That's a great colour. Then this one here, that could be a Payne's Grey. And I think it's the Schmincke Payne's Grey. Because the well, it could be the Daniel Smith Payne's Grey. And this one here is the Permanent Sap Yellow Jackson's. Sap Green. I've been swatching too long, I'm getting all the colour names mixed up in my head. So what I want to bring in is maybe this Quin Burnt Orange to replace that really fake looking burnt orange. I mean too, because this is from a subscription box and I can't remember the brand or anything. I don't have any information about whether that is a light fast colour or anything like that, so it's probably good not to use it. There aren't any colours that I feel like I need to have that I don't have there. Actually, that Van Dyke Brown in the Schmincke, that could be the best brown to have. A little blank square, so I know to add that in. It's really hard with the greys. I really love the Moon Glow. I really love this. There's just a lot of greys that I could put in here. Maybe I should just make a whole new, like a separate grey palette, and then I can use that for doing some just monotone paintings. But yeah, I think this will really help me get my watercolour palette organised so that I've got a much usable range of colours. Okay, I've worked out what these colours are on this first row by doing some online investigation, which sounds really cool, but it was just going into my Amazon shopping history. So this is actually the Daniel Smith Essentials set. The colours in it were Newcomb Beige, which I identified correctly. Hansa Yellow Light. I thought that was lemon yellow, but it's Hansa Yellow Light. Quin Rose, Quinacridone Rose, Purell Scarlet, Phthalo Blue, and French Ultramarine. And that's sold as their essential set. That, yeah, it's a great starter set, great mixing set. And yeah, if you're just starting to get into watercolours and are looking for a set, I would definitely recommend that as a really good place to start. I've got the prices there, it was $42 Australian or $37 US, and I would definitely buy that set of 6 rather than buy a cheaper set where you get a lot more colours, because you're getting the quality and you're getting paints that can mix. This is all my entire watercolour collection swatched. Got some more watercolours that are my sister's, but I decided not to swatch them because they are her paints, and then the Schmincke super granulating colours, which I don't really use much. So maybe one day she'll do her own swatching video with those. And meanwhile, yep, that's about it for today. If you've enjoyed this video, please subscribe if you haven't already, and thumbs up. It really helps. It helps me and my channel, but it also helps YouTube to know what videos to recommend to you. So win-win situation. And other than that, I'll be seeing you next time with another exciting video. Thanks for watching, and thanks for swatching. Bye.